The night before Julius Caesar was killed, Rome slept in peace. No screams, no chaos, no warning, just silence. The kind of silence that hides something waiting to happen. Because by the next morning, everything would change, and no one knew what was coming. The most powerful man in the world was walking into his final day. But here's what makes this story different. Caesar wasn't killed by enemies. He was betrayed, and the men who betrayed him were the same men he trusted most. This wasn't just an assassination. This was Rome turning against itself. At the time, Rome was unstoppable, an empire expanding in every direction. To the world, it looked unbreakable. But empires don't fall from outside. They fall from within. And inside Rome, one man was rising above them all. Julius Caesar. He was no longer just a general. He was becoming a symbol, a force no longer just human. And that's when fear began to grow. Because when people love one man more than the system begins to disappear. To the people, Caesar was the solution. But to the Senate, he was becoming a problem. Because power, once lost, is rarely given back. Among them, one man stood out. Marcus Junius Brutus. He wasn't the most powerful, but he was trusted. And that's what made him dangerous. Because Caesar never saw him as a threat. He saw him as an ally, maybe even more. But Brutus believed in something bigger than Caesar. He believed in Rome, a system, not a single man. So he faced a choice: stay loyal or protect the Republic. The conversations didn't happen in public because this wasn't politics anymore. It was something far more dangerous. Behind closed doors, the idea took shape. At first, it sounded unthinkable, but the more they talked, the more it began to make sense. If Caesar could not be controlled, then he had to be removed. No speeches, no votes, just silence. The kind of silence where everyone understands what comes next. And once that line was crossed, there was no turning back. The morning of the Ides of March arrived like any other. Everything looked normal, and that's what made it dangerous. Because history doesn't warn you when it's about to change. And on this morning, Caesar had no idea. He believed it would be just another day. But not everyone was calm. Beware the Ides of March. But warnings only matter if you believe them. And Caesar no longer feared anything. As he entered the Senate, nothing felt unusual, but something had already changed. And then the signal came. Everything happened at once. Caesar was surrounded, not by enemies, but by men he trusted. At first, he tried to resist, trying to understand what was happening. But then he saw them, men he knew, men he trusted. And then he saw him, Brutus. In that moment, everything became clear. This wasn't just an attack. This was betrayal. And with that, he stopped fighting. The most powerful man in Rome fell, and just like that, it was over. But nothing was resolved, because killing Caesar didn't end his power, it amplified it. He became a symbol, an idea, and ideas are much harder to kill. Rome didn't return to order, it broke. Civil war followed, power shifted, and Brutus, the man who thought he was saving Rome, was left with the consequences. In the end, Rome didn't go back to what it was, because some things, once broken, never return. Julius Caesar didn't fall because he was weak. He fell because he trusted the wrong people. And that is what makes this story timeless.